Hey, so welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. As your host, Steve. Today's guest is Zach Wicks with Wood by Wicks out in Edmond, Oklahoma. How you doing, Zach?
Pretty good, Steve. How's it going?
Good, good, good. I'm excited to have you on. So why don't you tell everybody about Wood by Wicks? Like, how'd you get started?
That's a great question, Steve. So I've been working for myself for 13 years. So I didn't usually process the material. Like I remember cutting a tree down, a big old cottonwood tree a long time ago, and it just, rotted away in the forest. Wasn't utilized and stuff. But it really started around 8 years ago. Wood by Wicks really started around 8 years ago. I thought it was a great idea to harvest some cedar from land. We used to own some land out in Hydro, Oklahoma. So I cut some cedar trees down and had thought I was going to process them with a chainsaw. So after I cut one log in half, I knew processing it with a chainsaw just wasn't going to cut it.
It would take you forever.
Absolutely. So, you have a log cut in half, and handling the material is extremely hard. So like getting a log from point A to B, and that's kind of why I was thinking about, well, maybe I should take this wood to a sawmill. So I took it to a wood miser. And as soon as I saw the wood miser process that log, I knew I needed to have it. So it took a while to get my wood miser. So I've been selling wood for 8 years, and I was using other sawmills for almost 5 years. So paying other sawmills to cut my wood, and I take that wood, and I was really good at selling beautiful pictures of wood that was salvaged, fresh off the grill
You're,
green.
I call it you're hustling wood. You're hustling wood.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You're
So
you're
this,
hustling without a sawmill. I love that. That's the best.
so my first wood miser I purchased was 3.5 years ago, and it was the LT40 wide gasoline engine. It was an amazing machine. It had like 450 hours on it before I sold it. I love the machine. The only thing I didn't like about it is it didn't have the power like I wanted. I wanted a diesel head, So the diesel head really, I can just mow down logs. I love it. So I sold the wood miser, the first wood miser in 2020, and I bought the LT40 Super hydraulic diesel. And that's it. I cut lots of wood.
So your business right now, is it mobile milling or just like stationary? What else are you doing aside from milling?
So that's a great question. So the reason I didn't buy a sawmill as soon as I did was I live in a residential setting. There's no spot for a sawmill. I can't be a Matt Cremona and have it in my backyard. I would love that, but my neighbors would be pissed. So I have two storage units. So I literally keep my sawmill in a storage unit. If I need to use my sawmill, it's 100% portable. So like I never cut here. I'm going to the logs 100% of the time. That takes a lot of preparation and stuff like that. Like it's the same amount of prep work to cut 1 hour as it is 10 hours. So like I've cut for hundreds of people, but cutting for people, it has to make sense. So it needs to be at least a minimum of like a half a day worth of cutting and a setup fee. So I cut for people. I love cutting for people. If the price is, they're agreeing with the $100 an hour, and then there's a setup fee. And then I primarily just cut for myself. All the wood I cut is pretty much for myself.
And you sell lumber.
I sell wood every hour of every day.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. Like, I have a lot of wood buyers. Like, I wouldn't be where I'm at without the community and the supporters that I have. So, like, there's a lot of people that like they'll buy the wood from me within 12 hours of me cutting. So I can sell wood. Like, if I go save a white wood log, like a sycamore log or an oak log, it's gone within 24 hours, fresh off the mill.
Wow.
Every time. I'm talking about 98% of the time, that's what's happening.
Wow.
So that's how I'm streaming my whitewood, because I can't save every species. I want to save
Yeah.
all the logs. I can't. So I just pretty much store walnut. I have hundreds and thousands of
That's
slabs.
like your goal. It's like your goal.
Yeah. I have just tons of walnut, like slabs that are 70 inches wide to it's just massive pieces of wood.
Wow. And so you're in a suburb of Oklahoma City.
That's correct.
And Oklahoma City is it a growing city?
Oklahoma City is growing. There's lots of opportunity here. There's opportunity all over the country, but Oklahoma is a really solid place to be. I've been here. I'm 31 years old, so I've been here for pretty much my entire life. I was born in Dallas, but Oklahoma's home.
And so there's probably nobody that's doing what you're doing.
There are. I have lots of competition, Steve.
Mm.
So, which is great. I enjoy competition. So competition, like to me, competition just saves more trees. So if I'm able to have other players in the field, salvaging, certain logs that I might not necessarily want to, commit to, that's just a benefit for the environment. So I'm all for competition. But there's good competition, there's bad competition. There's some people that are like really nice and, like friendly and stuff. And there's some people that kind of, just not so nice and friendly. For
sure. Do you, what's been a challenge in your type of business model? And I guess my other question is like, how did you build up it seems like a hungry, thirsty, customer base, right? Like if you're milling and they're buying within 12 hours.
So that is just with white wood. So for instance, I like to take my bread and butter is my 5/4 material walnut. So I can dry walnut within a year, put it in sticks, it seasons, I love walnut. Seasoned walnut, like just the smell of walnut is just...
It smells so good. Yeah.
So seasoned walnut is what, I like to put in sticks. 2-inch material obviously needs to stay in sticks for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Before you can work it. 2.5 years. If I had an eye dry, if I had the space and eye dry,
for sure. Yeah.
It'd be different thing. But the overhead expense, like I have minimal overhead.
Yeah. You run a lean operation too.
So and then that's I have a wood buyer that takes like 1/4 of my material. All the material I cut within a year. They come and visit me 4 times a year, and they take tons, trailer loads of wood. And that's really great because they buy half of the wood, and the other half pay me throughout the year.
Wow.
So they have a kiln. They have a solar kiln, so they're able to take maybe 3 or so loads a year. Green to dry, usable, stuff. And if they're coming and spend $10,000, I'll send them with 10.
Sure.
Want some more?
Yeah. And
it's only for that person though.
That's only for that person. And then, I guess if you're operating without a sawmill and you're busy having other people mill for you, what that did was probably force you to network and to grow your customers even faster, right?
Steve, you're exactly right. So in my phone right now, so
no, I'm sorry. I just want to say another thing is that what that probably did was because you had minimal, you didn't have any equipment. You literally had your hustle and your drive to build your business.
Contacts are key. So I have hundreds of people that connect the dots for me. I can post a piece of wood in my stories and it will sell. So let's say if there's a walnut log coming down behind Panera Bread and my buddy is in line at Starbucks and he sees the line crews, taking it down, he gives me a heads up and I save that day because this is all I do. I don't have the time to, if I need to scale up, I can scale at a moment's notice because I have nothing holding me back. I have no commitments. I'm married, the wife's the boss, obviously, but outside of that, this is all I do.
Save trees, mill them, sell them.
That's correct. Ideally, I used to like not have as much inventory as I used to. Like I have a lot of inventory, so that means that I'm producing more wood, still selling tons of wood, and I'm able to keep a bunch. So like I'm keeping the best pieces I cut.
Wow. Wow.
They're for
What
sale.
does, what's that?
I said they're for sale.
And they're for sale. Yeah. That's yeah, we should talk about that towards the end of this podcast because like I could give you some ideas. So what tell me what I guess what has been the challenge or what has been the thing that you've had to like overcome with this business model?
The challenge is material handling.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
nightmare. So I'm operating with 850 square feet or something, and it's all portable. So all this wood is either going to my house or in these storage units. So I want to stack the white wood, but I have to sell it so quickly. The price might be a little bit lower, but I'm able to get it out of my hands
Yeah.
because space.
Yeah. 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 Your business model is something that I probably for like I just talked to a guy and he does chainsaw milling, but in a residential area, and that's kind of a problem. Like there's only so much. So he just did the same thing that you did, and now he's got a storage facility for his wood that he's milling, right? Um, that's super interesting. Um, Tell me what how did you continue to learn and grow in this business? Was it just like did you have any mentors? Did you have like was literally did you just grind it out?
It's I've been working for myself for 13 years. It's a constant grind, Steve. I have learned from many people. I can learn from a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've learned from many people. I will say that my first, experiences around the wood miser was like around 8 years ago. And this wood miser is probably a 1990s model. The bearings, you can
Mm-hmm.
shake the wheel. So I had lots of experience taking wood off of a sawmill and watching a slower operate for 5 years. So you watch an older
Yeah.
man operate, you tell him how to position your logs. Maybe he tells you something that can't be done and it can be
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from Tim. That sawmill's closed though.
Wow. How I mean, you know what the interesting thing is like, you said something interesting about like competition is good because it saves, but it also competition is good because it allows other people to like kick the tires and see that there are other people out there so that you're not alone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about competition, I can't talk about my business without talking about my competition. Can I tell you why?
Why?
So there's a percentage of my business is going onto people's land after loggers get off the land. So these landowners will have loggers come onto the property and they fall every single walnut tree. And these loggers, when they fall a stem, that stem hits another tree in the forest, and they're not going to take care of that widowmaker they just caught. They're going to leave it there.
Mm,
They leave the tree canopies in the forest, and they take all the stems, and they actually leave dozens of logs that they're
wow.
not. So they'll cut a degraded tree down, and if it's degraded at the stump, it
Yeah.
stays on the property. They're not going to purchase it. So they pretty much take the best logs and leave everything. Like I come onto properties and they're cutting 8-inch trees down, Steve. How is that sustainable?
Not at all. Yeah.
So that's all I do is cut trees. I've cut thousands of trees. My main business is I have access to thousands of walnut trees. I've been planting walnut for over 10 years. Walnut trees. I tried
Wow.
planting walnut on our land in hydro, and it's fascinating to see how many people cut trees down, but how many people are not planting trees back. We have to plant the walnut back.
Yeah. 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 It's that next generation, right? It's it's gotta be regenerative, because otherwise, if you're taking it down, you're not planting something else. It's like you're not leaving anything else for what's next. Where did this whole sense of saving trees come from? Like where did
Oh goodness. So like I mentioned earlier, I've been working for myself for 13 years, and that kind of consisted of, remodeling houses. So anything inside of a house I could fix, build, remodel, demo, add on, tile,
yeah.
you name it. Whenever I was in that business, I just saw all the trash that was going to the landfill. So like everybody that has all these packaging for their tile or the flooring, like all the cardboard and plastic just goes in a 40 yard. Well, I recycled like 80% of my waste as a contractor. So if it was a cast iron tub, it'd be taken to the recycle, and all our paper and plastic, we try to recycle and stuff. But I saw a need for, I see logs being I guess we'll cut off there, but I've been told many times a log was firewood. So I'm told that's firewood. I don't want it. I've turned many firewood logs into thousands of dollars. And it's fascinating to take someone's telling you it's trash, slice it up, then they think it's beautiful, and then they want to buy it from you. And then they might not want you to go off their property because you just cut some beautiful stuff. I love cutting logs.
Yeah. It is really fascinating. It's so fascinating too. You look at something that literally should be firewood, and you can turn it into something beautiful, and then the markup is ridiculous.
It's pretty insane. Like, so I have a collection of burros. So I've been collecting burros for a long time. Knife sets, just really highly figured wood. I love wood grain.
Wow. So this is a part of the podcast where I give you any marketing or business advice. Is there something that any marketing or business challenges that you'd like for me to potentially help you out with?
My question to you would be, I feel like everybody knows this, doing the same thing over and over is called insanity, right?
Yeah.
How do you get to that next level? Like, obviously I want to buy land. Mm-hmm. But land's really expensive. I don't have any land in the family. Most people have a sawmill. They have somewhere to cut at. I have nowhere to cut, but out in the
Yeah.
So like, how do I acquire land the fastest way as possible?
Yeah. It's so funny. So it's so interesting you asked me that question, because I've actually been pretty fascinated with land. What's your so is it Edmond, right? What county is Edmond in?
Oklahoma County.
It's Oklahoma County.
Canadian.
Oklahoma County. Okay. So I'm on Zillow right now. Right. So okay, so let me back up a bit. I'm just gonna back up a bit. For one is, there's sometimes the way you can grow your business is by having leverage. Sometimes you have leverage by the equipment that you have, right? Because then you can turn that equipment into cash right away. So if you are sitting on a lot of green lumber, maybe investing in an iDry that can turn that lumber around could be something that can generate you cash faster, right? Especially if you have the market there. So that's one example. Another example is, in terms of leverage, is so there's the equipment, and then the other one is like your geography, right? So like if you're in a bustling location, right? Like it sounds like Oklahoma City is, it's like you naturally have like the people around you. You have the marketplace there that warrants that, right? Another competitive advantage is, just like you as your brand and as your personality. And I almost see that you have all of those things, right? You have the passion, that's your competitive advantage, that's your leverage. You have a bustling location. What you don't have is like, the equipment or, some sort of other thing. And so how you can gain a competitive advantage and how you can scale up and go to the next level is like, if you don't have the cash on hand, is to see if you can like either save it, which would take forever, right? You could get a loan, right? Like a bank loan, or, a private loan, or like a couple weeks ago, I had somebody on, he's an old client, Josh from Full Circle, is that potentially is to get state or government grants. And
that was
so,
a pretty interesting podcast. Dude.
Wasn't it so fascinating? He literally scaled up his business. He got an eye dry from a grant, and then he got a slab miser from a grant, and he got a slab miser. And then he has a Timber King on order, the big one, all from a government grant. But you have that same kind of passion of like, you're literally saving trees. And the idea is, if you could, what do you call it? If you could convince a county or a city, and I would like get involved with like your local community, like, hey, do you guys have any government grants? Do you have any, small business, low interest loans, that type of thing, right? That could be something that could truly help you, because again, I see your competitive advantage, like you're supremely passionate about it. You've been an entrepreneur for a long time, right? Like you cut a lot of trees, you plant a lot of trees, you sold lots of lumber. Those are all your competitive advantages, right? Okay. So those are like the foundation. You could save it, you can borrow it, or you can get some sort of grant, right? Okay. So that's one thing. So now I'm on Zillow.com, right? You know about Zillow?
Of course.
Yeah. So Zillow.com, you could look for, you could do a search for land and because you could probably get something. So like I'm looking at, there's a lot in Spencer, Oklahoma, 7,000 square foot lot for $9,500.
So that'd be great. There's a lot of usually restrictions I find.
Yeah. So I mean, you just have to look for the right one. But it looks like I would just go through. I mean, here I know other people in real estate that do stuff like this. They literally look at stuff like this and they just start lowball offering. That's it. Just lowball. Like, I'm looking at it to say the newest to oldest. You can sort by the newest to oldest, right? Or the oldest to newest, or the price low to high. Yeah, you can. There's a place, 5,000 square foot. Where's Spencer? Is that close to you?
It's not the most logistically.
Okay. So
but it's an example.
It's an example. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there are a lot of places that you can get commercial, half acre, Jones, Oklahoma City. Like, again, there are lots of places that you can probably go in, especially if it's like 3-4 months on Zillow. You just buy it, hold it. I'm sure taxes are pretty low, right? Run a generator there for at least a short term, like put up a storage container, like just to store all of your lumber. Like, and you have like, you can just put up like a frame. You get in there for like 20,000, 30,000.
Yeah.
Right. And then you build on top of that, right? Like you literally build on top of that. Like think about you said your material handling. It's like, you don't have a lot of room to move around and maneuver in your spot, right?
Correct.
You're like playing Tetris, correct?
You're absolutely correct on that one.
You're playing Tetris. Wouldn't it be nice to And how much you have two storage? How much are you paying for your storage right now?
So I have my overhead's $400 a month because I own my machines. I own the wood miser.
But the storage containers, the storage facility, how much is that a month? 150?
200 $200 a piece. I have two of them. I used to have
So
four.
that's four. So it's 400. That's probably, I mean, you could mortgage that, right? Like, and it's something that you own, like that's nothing. If you can buy something for like, you know, I think I'm just saying that you have options.
Absolutely.
I would just go in. I would just go in with the mindset like, listen, I'm going to buy some land. Or better yet, this is even better. Find somebody with some land and ask them if you could use it and rent it from them. Because I'm sure there's somebody that has something that it's empty. It's completely empty. And they have the building, they have everything. And you can go to them and say, I mean, I would even go to my own personal Facebook page, your own personal Facebook page, and say, hey, I'm looking to lease some land from somebody in 2022. It'd be great if they have some buildings or warehouse available. Give me some leads.
Absolutely.
Because if you had more space, you'd make more money, period.
But I have an example to combat that. So I've had a few ventures, like, for instance, I've been in business for 13 years, but I have worked alongside other people with common goals, and we say that we're going to do business together, and we start storing tons of material at their particular location. And ultimately, Zach's gotten screwed over. I've gotten screwed over with lots of wood. People say something now, and then they start seeing the accumulation of wood, and they want to ultimately a lot of sweat equity going down the drain in a few situations, and I hate it. So I would feel bad to do a rent because I feel like things would change. I want something set in stone.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing. Another is Edmond, hold on, Oklahoma. So another thing, see if there's an existing sawmill with an old owner and see if you can buy them out.
It's a great idea, Steve.
Because they got all the facilities, they got everything. Find an old sawmill and somebody that could actually teach you the ropes, and they have all their own stuff.
That's such a great idea. Like,
yeah,
I am so blessed and appreciative of the opportunity for your information. It's just that's dude, such a good idea.
There's a place in your town, 2.88 acres. There's a lot for sale. I mean, I'm sure it's been on the market for like 277 days on Via Sierra. I bet you could probably get like a land deal from them. It's like 2.88 acres, almost 3 acres for 78,000. It's been on the market for 188 days. That's 6 months. Like, listen, you're not going to sell, right? You don't have anybody like, let me do a land deal with you. So you don't even have to do this. I'll give you $1,000 down. I'll pay you $400 a month for the next 5 years, 10 years.
I love it.
Do that.
You're so creative.
Thanks, man. Dude, you can do this. If you want some land, you can get some land. There are lots of options. Literally, I mean, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna share my screen. This is Edmond. I just put Edmond in here, right?
Yeah.
And this is all these red dots are all land. So like I just put lots of land, right? So what part of town are you in?
I'm pretty much off 178th and Western, so I'm on the far left-hand corner of that blue.
Far left-hand corner?
Yeah, up a little bit. So the thing about it, they have things zoned in my area, so it's
sure.
It needs to be an industrial setting. It's a tough one. It's so expensive in my area. So I'm talking about houses.
For houses, right?
Like the piece of land right across the street from me, it's like 13 acres. It's going for like $9 million.
Wow. Yeah, you need to go to the industrial part. You need to, yeah. So anyway, I would call a realtor too. Call a realtor, say, hey, I'm looking for land. It'd be great if it has power or not. And then, like you can figure it out. But if you could own something, but then you have something on your balance sheet and you have any improvements on it, you can depreciate, there's options for you.
I appreciate it, man.
Cool. All right. How can people get in touch? What's your Instagram?
Instagram is Wood by Wicks, and I have a little YouTube channel. I used to have a website, but I sell the wood quicker locally. And
then on the website? Okay.
I might be using you to build me a website. I canceled my website 6 months ago.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, let's talk about that. All right.
So, thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you so much, Zach. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Right. Bye.
Thanks for checking out the latest episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. If you found value and love what you listened to, please subscribe, rate, and review so that more people can learn about our mission and vision. Lastly, join our community, the Woodpreneur Membership Community. It's a marketing and training program to help you market and build your wood business past 6 figures.